Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. And today's subject, we're going to be carrying on with what we've been doing over the past few weeks, and we're going to be going over the last zone in Shadowlands, and that is Revendreth, and we're going to be going over its lore and everything that we know to do with the zone, and I'll give my thoughts on it and stuff at the end. So, Revendreth being the last zone in Shadowlands, it is the last place that you quest and where the storyline takes you after Ardenweald. It is the realm where the souls are basically sent before they are sentenced to the Maw. The Maw being the big bad place down the bottom where you don't want to go, pretty much. Now, these souls being sent here are basically on their last chance. It's like you've been told off and you've got one more chance. If you're naughty again, you're gone, alright? It's that kind of thing. You're going to be sent to your room. So, you're sent to Revendreth as this spirit, and you must atone for the sins that you have caused in your lifetime. Now, these sins are usually, or these souls that are sent to Revendreth are usually flawed souls, and they could be quite prideful, as an example. And this, what ultimately sends them to Revendreth is like their pridefulness, or however they are flawed. It is preventing them from serving in or going to any other realm within Shadowlands, whether it be Ardenweald, Bastion, Maldraxxus, anything like that, like a bearer for Bastion to bring souls into the Shadowlands, whether it's a soldier in Maldraxxus because it's too prideful to be part as a team almost, to be standing as one, or whether it's just a spirit that is close with nature in Ardenweald. This soul is very flawed, and that is why it has been sent to Revendreth, to atone for all of the sins that it has done within its mortal life. Now, as you are sent to Revendreth, you will have a sin stone that basically gets pinned to you. Not literally, or in some cases it can literally be pinned to you, but you will have a sin stone somewhere, and it will read a list of all of the sins that you have committed within your mortal life. And these are the sins that you must atone for, whether it be over just a decade, whether it be over hundreds of years, thousands, eons. You will eventually atone for your sins, or you will get sent to the Maw. There is no sort of in-between. When a soul is deemed, when they are ready to be judged, whether they have atoned for their sins or not, they are put before a small sort of council, and they decide whether or not they are going to the Maw, or they are going to be released and either kept within Revendreth as a Venthyr. And a Venthyr is someone who basically, it is the natives of the land who help other souls atone for their sins, or if they are ready to move on into another start within the Shadowlands, whether it be Ardenweald, Bastion, or Maldraxxus. And you can see this through some of the questing that you do in Revendreth. You can see a soul that is judged. I won't go through any sort of spoilers with it, but there is quests where you see a soul judged, and you have to deal with the repercussions of what happens and stuff. So it is quite fun to go through and see the process of which the souls are on their last chance. You see some of them are really not going so well. You see others that are really atoning and trying to atone for what they've done in their mortal life. And even in the Castle Nathria raid, which is located within Revendreth, and the first raid of the expansion is to do with the leader, Nathrius. We'll get to him in a second. But it is to do with Nathrius and him being, this is a spoiler by the way, but he will be or him being in league with the jailer, who's the big baddie of the expansion, pretty much. And you go in there, take him out and stuff. But whilst you're in Castle Nathria, you have a familiar face that we've killed in previous raids plus dungeons, Kelthar Sunstrider. Now he is a soul that was sent to Revendreth, and he has a sin stone. Because of everything that he has done within his mortal life, he has been sent to Revendreth to atone for them sins. And if you are a Vemfir, you get to experience that sort of atonement. You get to watch him atone for everything that he's done and see how his character plays out within the Shadowlands. Now, it is unclear on how his character will play out, but from what I know and what I've seen, it does seem like it is going to be quite a good little storyline, just like a sort of plot storyline that, will go quite far, and it will give people a nice little bit of information on the side as to what's happening with all of these characters that we've either defeated in the past or have just died off, etc. Now, going back to Sidon Aphrius, he is the actual founder of Revendreth. He is one of the big head honchos in the Shadowlands. So, like I said, for Bastion, you have the Archon, who is the head honcho there. If you go to Ardenweald, you have the Winter Queen. If you go to Maldraxxus, you did have the Primus, who is now missing. And in Revendreth, it is Sire Denathrius. And basically, we figure out along the line that he is not a good guy. They are not going to hide that. They showed it in one of their cinematics, actually, their pre-Shadowlands cinematics, that he is not a good guy in the slightest. And we go in there and kick his butt, pretty much. And the reason that you do this is because he is in league with the jailer, and he is siphoning anima, which is the life source of the Shadowlands, into the Maw to give the jailer more power and free him up, almost. And who you actually talk to and interact with a lot within Revendreth is Prince Renethil. So it is the Prince of Revendreth. And he's the good guy. He's like, oh my god, this dude's so powerful, but he's doing it wrong, this is ridiculous. And he's the goody two-shoes that, everyone needs because there's a villain in the zone. It's that kind of thing. So in Revendreth, you've got a massive power, almost. You kind of have a king, and this king has been corrupted, and you need to dethrone the king. And what the prince wants to do is make a council so that this sort of thing never happens again. You've seen it many times in the past. You've seen it in the real world situation where kings get overthrown and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's something. So the inspiration for Revendreth actually comes from a lot of Dracula stuff. It's vampire aesthetic. It's a massive castle with a massive gargoyle on top. And the little small towns dotted around this castle remind me a lot of Old English towns, to be honest. They seem very crooked, is the best way to describe them. But that might just be because of the inhabitants that live and work around these towns. They're called dredgers. And these are tiny little sort of, I want to say troll/orc looking hybrid things that waddle about with massive feet and give you the old English sort of speaking voice. The real gritty and, it's tough to explain. It's very old English, and it's something that you'd hear down a dark alleyway. It's like, hello there, how you doing? It's that sort of, grittiness to it. So, with regards to Revendreth, there's not much else to it, really. It is the last sort of hope for souls that are sent there to atone for what they've done. Otherwise, they are cast off into the depths of the Maw. Now, going through the storyline, Ardenweald was obviously my favourite, so it is very tough to follow that up in any zone, pretty much. Revendreth does a good job of rounding off the storyline though with the cinematics that it gives and the setup for the raid. And entering Revendreth, you've got just entering it makes you know that this is a place for bad souls. Like the first thing you see as you enter is about 5 different elite gargoyles, and you've got sort of a little toll booth at the start at the Flight Master, and it's all these souls collecting their sin stones, and that's what you do. You collect a sin stone, I'm pretty sure, is the first quest. But not your sin stone, I'm pretty sure it's that of another. But you're just in a graveyard, and there are all of these souls that are running about. There's even a rare there where it's like a cursed soul, and basically it's a soul that doesn't want to atone for what it's done, so you have to kill him off, send him to the moor, etc. Like, the whole zone as you enter it stinks of basically evil. That is what the zone entails. It is evil, it is dark. It's a dark place. It is a very dark place, and that no soul wants to be in, let alone spending decades, eons atoning for what they've done in their past mortal life. Now, Revendreth is kind of what makes the Shadowlands tick over, in a way. Because if you don't have Revendreth, which is the last sort of, I'm clinging on for dear life, literally, no pun intended, but I'm clinging on, then everything that is, every soul that is flawed in terms of like prideful, very arrogant, stuff like that, will get sent straight into the moor, and you would never have this big baddie. He would already be broken free and, destroyed everything in the world, pretty much. So that is the final sort of gateway holding everything, and you realise it from the off. It's like, okay, this is the last chance that people get. Otherwise, it's just gone. And this is why it's so important in Oribos that the Arbiter, who is the one who oversees every single soul and sends them to their different place, this is why it's important, because the Arbiter is now broken, or I want to say broken, she's dead, in air quotes, and every soul that would have went to Revendreth to atone for their sins goes straight to the moor instead. Even like the Bastion souls, the Maldraxxus souls, Ardenwood souls, like even if you really were an awful person in life, you would have still had that last chance in Revendreth. Whereas now it's just, you're gone. You don't get that chance. Like, that is your own fault, pretty much. It's not their own fault. They would have had the chance, but they still would have been deemed worthy of Revendreth to possibly atone for their sins. I'm not sure if that made any sense. I kind of got off track a bit there. But basically, within Revendreth, it is your last chance. Now, it is quite fun to see certain souls atone for their sins and see what they go through and pick what they want. Like, whether they want to stay as a Venthyr to help guide other souls onto their atonement, or if they want to move on to the wilds of Ardenweald, to the nice plains of Bastion, etc., to the armies of Maldraxxus. But again, there is no chance of the atonement, considering the Machine of Death is currently broken within the Shadowlands. There is a lot more within Revendreth that could be explained. Like, I'm pretty sure you have to go into the books or the comics and stuff, but there's a massive light source within Revendreth. Now, vampires hate light, and they've put a massive sort of light zone within the area to, give that impression, because the only things that live within that light zone are ghouls, and these ghouls were Revendreth, or not Revendreth, they were Venthyr. They were people who would help souls atone, or they were souls that were going to atone, etc. And they don't really explain most of it in game. It's more through the comics that they explain why the light source is there. But basically, the light being an entity within WoW, so you've got the massive WoW graph of light, you've got the Naru, stuff like that, you've got the Void, you've got the Old Gods, and it's a massive pie chart pretty much, and you've got nature, life, everything in there. But the light actually attacked Revendreth at points and broke the clouds within the sky to let the light through. And this was their ultimate weapon, using their light against vampires, as a sense. And within this crater, you don't really know why there's light. You don't know why there's ghouls there. You don't know why the vampire hate the light. I mean, you have some understanding because they are vampires, but there's no real reason for the light to be there. It could just be all dark like it is on the first half of the zone, and you wouldn't really bat an eyelid at it. So they could do a lot more of like in-depth description of why these parts of the zones are different, because I'd like to see a lot more of that. But we can only hope that that sort of gets fleshed out a bit more as we go through the Shadowlands. I would certainly like to hope so, but I mean, there's only so much that they can do with the whole, situation within the world right now. And probably the main focus is getting the Covenants and the main story out, and etc. I'm sure they'll do anything, like something to cover it in a later date, but I don't think it's on top of their agenda. God, I couldn't say the word there. But again, these lore videos were just something that I wanted to give a go. I wanted to sort of gauge how everyone would react to it, because not everyone's a lore nerd. I love the lore. I love learning about the different zones, different classes, different races within WoW, how they all act, what wars have been happening, absolutely everything. So I wanted to at least give it a go, gauge how some people would enjoy it, if some people don't, etc. But with this being the last of the lore videos, I would definitely like to come back to the lore stuff every now and again. It won't be like podcast after podcast. It'll be sort of mix and match stuff. Might be the WoW news next week, or I might give it another month, etc. Might be the end of Jan, we start that up again. But there will definitely be a lot more mix and match stuff going forward, as this is the last Shadowlands lore podcast. But thank you all very much for the support on these podcasts, as always. And I will definitely like to see you in the next one. If you ever want to check out the Patreon, please do so. It is patreon.com/pickandwhistle. There are episodes weekly going up there. These are different episodes, by the way. These are like hints and tips, Covenant ability stuff, everything like that. So you'd obviously get a bit more content with it. And I'd love for you to go and check out the Pick and Whistle Tales website, pickandwhistletales.com. Be sure to check it out. It is really good, and I'm still in love with it. But thank you all very much for listening, as always. It is very appreciated. And go Valor, friend. Goodbye all.